Evan Perez joins us from Florida outside the courthouse. So what was the shouting match about?
Well, Anderson, this was a hearing in part to hear these arguments by Walt Nauta and his attorney to Stan Woodward. They were arguing that Walt Nauta is the subject of selective and vindictive prosecution. And one of the things that Stan Woodward, his attorney, was arguing today was that he recounted an episode where he said prosecutors were essentially trying to pressure him to try to get Walt Nauta to cooperate with this investigation. He said there was this meeting where prosecutors mentioned the fact that he had applied for a judgeship and the chances of getting that judgeship. Now, that prompted a very sharp reply from prosecutors. David Harbuck stood up and said that his interpretation of those events were fantasy. The judge at one point had to tell everybody to calm down because things had gotten so heated during this hearing. These were two hearings, Anderson, that took over 5 hours for the judge to hear. Again, she didn't rule from the bench, as she usually doesn't, but she did seem skeptical of these efforts by the defendants to try to dismiss these charges, Anderson.
So what is the latest on when the trial might actually happen?
We still don't know. I mean, every time we come down here, we show up thinking that perhaps this is the day we're going to hear of a new trial date. That did not happen today. And look, today's hearing was an example and sort of exemplified why this case is moving so slowly, so ploddingly. The judge allowed and sort of indulged the defense to go down a number of rabbit holes. There was one point where the defendants were arguing that there was a discussion to delete video, if you recall, as part of this case. This is part of the obstruction charges. They said that just having a discussion about deleting surveillance video, including that surveillance video that you showed there, the clips of Walt Nauta moving boxes, that does not indicate a crime. Again, the judge indulging a lot of these things over the course of 5 hours. Again, she did not rule from the bench on any of the motions, and a reminder that we have probably at least another 8 motions that the judge is planning to go through with hearings like this one, Anderson.
Evan Perez, thanks very much. I want to get some perspective now from former federal prosecutor Elie Honig, former U.S. District Court Judge Shira Shenlin, former Trump White House Communications Director Anthony Scaramucci. He's also the author of From Wall Street to the White House and Back, the Scaramucci Guide to Unbreakable Resilience. Also with us, Karen Friedman Agnifilo, a former Manhattan Chief Assistant DA who is now a criminal defense attorney. Anthony, I mean, even for President Trump, the idea that he's claiming, you know, the FBI was out to assassinate him or shoot him is bananas.
Well, it's bananas. Everything was handled appropriately in standard operating procedure, but there is a little projection in that. You see, if he says that about the other side, he thinks it takes a little bit of heat off of him and the unified Reich rap and all the other things that he's doing on his side to try to galvanize his base. So that's a typical classic Trump projection manipulation move. I can tell you everything that's in the playbook if you have time.
Karen, I mean, what do you think of this judge? I mean, what are the chances this is going to happen?
The trial, you mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like she is poised to have a trial anytime soon. There's critical hearings that need to happen. Today's hearings were just 2 of many that have to happen. And the fact that she won't even set a trial date, I don't think she has any plans or any intentions of seeing this case go to trial anytime soon.
Judge, I mean, on the search warrants, I mean, you've signed off on plenty of search warrants.
I have, and it's not that hard. You look for probable cause that a crime has been committed. You look for probable cause that material or evidence of that crime will be found in that location. It's presented to you by an agent. If you find it, you sign it. And if you're wrong, there's still a good faith exception, it's called. So there's no way that this search warrant is going to get suppressed. But that's the way Trump's handling it. They make motions of every kind repeatedly, don't really expect to win them, but they want to tie her up. That's how I look at it. If they make 30 motions, then that means 30 more reasons to delay. And of course, she should be ruling from the bench on some of these. They're just frivolous, and there's no reason to hold back on them. Just say denied.
What does that mean, ruling from the bench? I mean, she should be able to just make the ruling there.
Absolutely. If they present the arguments, there's probably letters or briefs, just decide. There's no reason to hold off and reserve on every single motion that's made. Say it again?
Denied.
Denied, exactly right. I mean, she should know on some of these that they're frivolous, just frivolous.
why would she not be ruling from the bench? I mean, is it just
My
lack of
answer
experience?
is she's insecure. Absolutely. She's insecure. A secure judge who knows what they're doing, like Judge Kaplan, like Judge Merchan, the two judges who were able to control Trump, they know what they're doing. They're very experienced and they're confident. So they rule. We called it rule and roll. But we did. And she doesn't rule and roll. She rules and reserves, or she reserves and doesn't rule. And that's not the way to move a case along.
Let me just vouch, having been ruled and rolled by Your Honor, Judge Sheindlin does know how to move a case quickly. I think it's important that we call out, again, this lie that is spreading now alarmingly quickly, that there was some effort to, I hesitate to even say it, but to assassinate Donald Trump. It's so ridiculous, but I think the most important way to understand it is if we see where the lie comes from. So in the search warrant documents, in a federal search warrant, and I think we have this that we can put up on the screen, there is a standard piece of paper that basically says, here, law enforcement officers of the Department of Justice may use deadly force only when necessary. That is, when the officer has a reasonable belief that the subject of such force is threatening imminent bodily harm or imminent death to another person. In other words, it is limiting. It says, do not use your gun, cops, FBI agents, unless it is absolutely necessary to save a life. And then that document goes on to say, and here are all the circumstances you cannot use your weapon if someone's fleeing, if someone's in a car. So this is a standard form. It correctly states the law. And if anything, it is narrowing to a very tiny sliver the circumstances where you can use your gun.
And it doesn't happen.
And it's
Search
boilerplate.
warrants go down all the time without violence.
And it's boilerplate language. And they made sure Trump wouldn't be at Mar-a-Lago at the time they executed the search warrant. And they went in wearing shirts instead of uniforms to try to keep it calm. I mean, they coordinated with Secret Service in advance.
But we're talking about it. See, and the fact that we're talking about it, Trump is winning because he has a trigger button. And he says, what can I do today on Truth Social that's going to trigger people to talk about this? And it galvanizes his base. It may upset the people that want to vote for Joe Biden, but it absolutely galvanizes his base. The fact that,
his base is
the fact that
fixed.
people are flipping
His
through
base
channels,
is
they
fixed,
land
but
on this
what
channel
about-
and they hear
base
us.
is fixed. What about those voters who are not yet decided? I don't think this plays well to the independents that Biden is trying to assassinate Trump. That's ridiculous. It's over the top. Nobody's going to believe that who's undecided.
But it is one of those conundrums, and you know
But can I
this-
just
Yeah, sure.
But he needs money right now, Your Honor. And so what's happening to him? He's flying around the country. He's landing in places like Texas, and he's projecting. He's saying all the things that he's going to do if he were to win. He's not going to win, by the way, but he will do. And it galvanizes his base, and they open up their checkbook and they start writing checks because he's way behind on the money.
Right.
Why don't
he
you
knows
think
he
he's gonna
can't
win?
win. Well, he's definitely not going to win, Anderson. I mean, we got to snap out of the fever that he may win. He's not going to win. He doesn't. First of all, he doesn't have enough money. Number two, he's not going to have the operation set up properly in these swing states. Number three, I want you to identify the people that are going to now vote for Trump. Maybe there's a few on the margin, but there is just not enough to bring him to an electoral college victory. And the last thing, I know the guy. He's going to implode himself as we get closer and closer. And we also know that President Biden is way more together than the right-wing media is suggesting, or even the Trump campaign is reinforcing with Donald Trump. And I think he gets his clock cleaned in these two debates by President Biden. So no, he's not going to win, but he needs money. And that's why he's pressing the trigger buttons right now that the president was trying to assassinate me. Even though I wasn't in Mar-a-Lago, there was a threat to my life.
Karen, just in terms of the documents case, I mean, how have you seen judges like this before? I mean, is it? I mean, because Judge Sheindlin was saying, you know, it's inexperience essentially. I mean, there is also the other option, which is that it's intentional.
She has made a lot of rulings that have caused a lot of people to question her fitness to sit in this particular case. I mean, she has really, even from the beginning, at the time of the search warrant that was signed, she appointed a special master, which is totally inappropriate to do. She got reversed by the 11th Circuit. So it's hard to know. I've not seen a judge, frankly, this ill-equipped to handle a case such as this. It's really highly unusual.
She comes off as a rookie. It's insecurity as well as inexperience. You have to be secure to rule promptly and to rule from the bench. You have to believe in your ruling. She doesn't have the confidence to do it. She's really the wrong judge for this case.
Judge, if you were calling me insecure, I'd be going in for life coaching. I mean, the way you say it is very powerful, Your Honor.
Judge Sheindlin, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Appreciate it.